10 minutes to go for our press conference. Thank you so much once again for coming all the way. And I'm sure we'll have a very fruitful morning. We're waiting for more people to join in. Until then, have some coffee, refresh yourself, and thank you once again. Thank you. All members of the media who are at the lounge to come and join us. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the members of the media who have taken so much effort to come and grace us on this auspicious day when we formally launch our product, XPMC. My name is 𝗙ecie𝗹𝗹𝗵𝗶. I'm the Executive Vice President for Employability.life, and I manage the South Asia operations for the organization. Employability.life is a global talent incubator operating within higher education institutions, preparing learners for the workplace by meeting employer requirement for the jobs most in demand. The organization works in close partnerships with university partners and other global industry bodies. It has offices in London, Melbourne, Sydney, Auckland, Delhi, Kolkata, and Ahmedabad. Now, I would like to introduce the officials who will address the media today. Dr. Manish Malhotra is the chairman of Employability.life. He founded ATMC, which now offers university, vocational, higher education, and professional programs in several countries with over 800 staff and 7,000 students, focused on e-learning, business, strategic planning, and business development. Dr. Malhotra has completed executive education program at both SAID Business School, the University of Oxford, and London Business School. He holds a PhD degree in computer science from RMIT University in Melbourne. He has developed this organization to provide public-private partnerships, localized businesses, community research, technology-based qualifications, and academic development programs, including scholarly activities. May I please invite Dr. Malhotra to be on the dais.
I'm already here. Thank you so much.
Professor Duncan Bentley is a Vice Chancellor and President of Federation University Australia, where he leads Victoria's premier regional university to transform lives and enhance communities through deep community engagement and sustainable economic growth. Professor Bentley works with industry and government to bring digital transformation and global connections to develop employment, skills, and innovation in regional communities. He has previously held leadership positions at Swinburne University of Technology, Victoria University, Curtin University, and Bond University. He holds a Master of Laws, Corporate and Communication from the University of London, and a PhD in International Tax Laws and Bond University. May I request and invite Professor Duncan Bentley to come on the dais, please. Our PR team, led by Meenakshi, would be coordinating with you during the lunchtime. May I now request Dr. Malhotra to address the media.
Thank you, Raja. Thanks, everyone, for coming. It's great to have so many of you here. So good morning, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of our team that is gathered here from UK, Australia, and of course, India. Let me start by giving a disclaimer that this is not another education degree launch. Okay, it's not another foreign university tying up in India for setting up a college, or it's not another research partnership between public and private sector. So as a matter of fact, this is not even close to all of that. Because this is, what we are doing today is not just about the education. Why we are here today is to talk about the education that is connected to the employability. This is about future of work. This is about changing technology and employment requirements. This is about making our students workplace ready. But before I explain this more to you in details, it's important to understand that why I am talking about this here and what is the background story behind this. I was born in this lovely city, Delhi, and I did my school in Delhi as well. After finishing my school, I went to Australia to do a degree program. And after that, I continued my studies in Australia, finished my PhD, and started teaching in a university in Melbourne. In 2004, I started a college called XPMC, which had the first batch in 2004. We had 75 students studying bachelors of IT from all over the world, a lot from India, and we were affiliated to Federation University of Australia. And by 2019, in 2019, we were the largest university partnership in Australia with over 5,500 students, international students studying in Australia. And again, our biggest partner was Federation University Australia, and we were predominantly teaching the programs in IT, accounting, and management. We have taught so far, we have taught more than 30,000 Indian students in our Australian campuses. But in the last few years, we observed that the job market is changing dramatically because of the digital transformation of the businesses. Well, the problem is not new. It did exist in the past as well, but now the problem has just grown exponentially. I remember that back in 2001, I remember there was a big demand of truck drivers in Perth, and which is a mining town in Australia, a big city which has connection to all the big mines. And I recall that year, that's when I first started doing my computer science job. I recall that the truck drivers in Perth were getting more salaries than a doctor in Australia. And that was very lucrative. But if you look now, 20 years after that, everything's changed. There are robotic trains who are doing all those things, and those truck drivers and those jobs that were around the mining has completely changed. They do not even exist now. So this is all because the world has changed so fast. We are right in the middle of Industry 4.0 right now. From banks to bricks and mortar retailers, everyone is now substantially investing into digital transformation. And with this further advancement of machine learned system, Internet of Things, space exploration, and augmented reality, it is going to be a completely new world. And this new world will have new jobs, something that we even do not know what the jobs will be in the future. So we realized in Australia that we have to make changes to our education programs to produce graduates and that can cope up with these changes in the workplace, that can fit in rapidly changing job roles, and that can fulfill the new skills that are needed in their new job roles. So our solution was clear. Our solution was that we must bridge the education to employment gap. So we started working on the models of employability in Australia to give our students a better job. We started the process of looking into their strengths, their behavioral skills, their experiential training, and their approach to agile methodology. Our affiliated university partner, Federation University Australia, started working on this problem at a much higher level. They started converting their 150 years old university to become Australia's first co-op university that will bring industry close to the education programs. At the same time, we started observing these similar trends of employability gaps in India, which were at a much larger scale. In this world, where 82% of the jobs require digital skills globally, we have only 12% of India's workforce with digital skills today. The automation threatens 69% of jobs in India. Over 27 million people must be trained in India in the digital skills by 2025 if we want to unlock the $1 trillion digital economy of India. And India's digital skill workforce needs to grow 9-folds by 2025. Now, keeping these problems, keeping these numbers in our mind, we started working on the solution for India for this very complex problem. Resolving this problem of closing gap between education and employment in this digital age will ensure that India will become the skill capital of the world.
You all, and thank you so much for coming along. We really appreciate your being here with us. Now, 150 years ago, in a small town called Ballarat, there was a massive gold rush which shook the world. People were coming from all over the globe in order to find gold. Melbourne, which was a small city in the middle of nowhere, became one of the richest countries in the world, richest cities in the world. And at that time, with the gold rush in midstream, they ran out of skills. They didn't have the engineers, they didn't have the geologists, and so they formed a university, my university, to work with industry, to design a curriculum, to design the skills that they needed with the industries, because they needed them then and there to be able to fuel this burgeoning economic growth which was driving the whole of the Victorian state as it was then, before it became Australia. And that is the basis not only for our university and our history, but for all that we've done ever since. Now, 25 years ago, if you fast forward, a company called IBM, who many of you will have heard of, were looking for a location to build their training program to enable them to find the skills they needed, because they weren't getting them from the universities around Australia. They needed the skills to be able to carve out their future growth. They came to Ballarat, to Federation University. It was called the University of Ballarat then, and they co-designed and co-created a curriculum which enabled them to be able to power their workforce to be able to deliver in Australia their growth. And they remain, 90 years after they came to Australia, one of the most powerful companies in the country, powering tech growth. And they did that through a collaboration with us as the university, co-creating the skills, co-delivering the curriculum, providing paid internships on the way through. Now, many of you will never have heard of Federation University, but that doesn't matter to us. We are not the destination. What we are is a partner to the companies which we work with, many of which you will have heard of. IBM, Acciona, one of the largest renewable energy companies in the world, Energia, Ernst & Young, Mars, McCain, manufacturers of confectionery, Alstom, manufacturers of trains and trams, Alinta, a major energy company. These are the companies you'd have heard of. You may not have heard of us because we are the learning partner to fuel their growth through a cooperative arrangement where we collaborate on designing the curriculum, designing the skills that are needed, co-delivering the program, and providing them with the skills they need. We won an award a couple of years ago for our IBM program. One of the reasons we won it was because on one of the IBM programs, we've had 400 graduates. So
thank you, Manish, Duncan. So I'm expected to take you through what we are doing, but the landscape has been set appropriately, that there is a problem. There are two very eminent institutions. Manish has done this for 20 years. Federation University has done this for 150 years. and we are carrying that baton, as Raja said, into solving this problem. So let me kind of talk about the problem that we see. India has expanded its education system rapidly over last 15 years. New colleges have come up. The government is very intent to get the demographic dividend. It's one of the world's youngest countries. We have 2.1 million people coming to the working age every month. And we have to find jobs and we have to integrate them to the global economy. However, at the same time, the traditional sources of jobs and careers are changing. And that's happening for multiple reasons. One of them is technology. So we are looking at a significant challenge in terms of what jobs will be there. And the biggest challenge that we have is that we don't even know what those jobs would look like. So the education system which has come together, the challenge is how do you train for something which you don't know what it will be. And we are kind of getting some more interesting data about how quickly the skills are becoming redundant. I'll give one piece of data, but I can talk about things. So we call it half-life of skills. Half-life is by the time these skills started getting redundant. And if you actually look at it, 37%, if we ask someone, or employers, we do that all the time. We go and ask employers, what skills do you require? And if we asked an employer in 2016, of the top 20 skills they would have mentioned, 37% of them are not required anymore already. And you can imagine education is a forward-thinking enterprise. Education, we are training people for 3 years. And if we don't know what 1/3 of the skills will be, it's very, very difficult for us to teach, design curriculum and everything else. And this is the problem we are trying to address. Now, just some data. There are more data available on this. So Indian graduates, even after doing a program like MBA, half of them can't find a job. BE, BTech, which used to be, obviously I grew up in India, and that used to be the gold standard. We kind of, obviously my father and I had a lot of arguments whether I should become an engineer or not, and I didn't. But it is almost certain that if you became an engineer, you would get a job. Now, only half of them find a job. So, and we can talk about the quality of education and things like that, but there is a fundamental problem that this whole job landscape is shifting, and the education needs to kind of think how we can catch up with that. So I'll talk about 3 different approaches to the solution, and we take one of them, and there are other 2 are being tried as well. So when we think about how do you handle this? How do you handle when the landscape is shifting and you don't know half the things where it will go to? So there are 3 approaches. One is analytical, which is the most common approach. We go to the employers, ask, oh, what competencies do you need? What skills do you need? And we create detailed maps, and that's been the predominant approach at the institutions, asking the employers, mapping their curriculum, mapping the curriculum to their need.
we open the floor for questions for the next 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll make some round rules. We have our members around here for the microphone to get traveled. So if you can raise your hands and we'll be right there. The lady out there.
Hi, Professor Bentley. This is Priyanka. I'm from Times of India. So I would want to know as to how are you reaching out to the Indian colleges and universities? How do you think you're planning to promote micro-credentials in India?
So just repeat the question again.
I want to know as to how you are planning to reach out to Indian colleges and universities. How will you collaborate with Indian youngsters?
So I might pass to Dr. Malhotra just in terms of the Indian operations.
Yeah, hi. So the way we are handling the Indian market, along with Federation University, is to run these XPMCs. As Supriyo mentioned, so these are experiential trainings. So these are the experiential projects that will also provide micro-credentials from international universities. Federation University is a strategic partner. And we have signed up with 68 colleges in India to offer these programs within those colleges. So basically what these programs will do will provide that missing experience which is not available in their qualification. So we are trying to add the experience in their qualifications in India so that they are more workplace ready when they finish their qualification, so that they have best of both the worlds. These projects are done overseas, and we're bringing the international expertise here, with the practical training, the agile methodology, like Supriyo has mentioned before. And the plan for us is to roll out the XPMCs, these experiential projects, micro-credentials across India, as many as we can. Would you like to add, Bill?
Thank you, Dr. Milton.
So just in terms of how do we make sure that we have the right quality which will stand the students and learners in good stead wherever they go in the world? And that's where having a university partner is so important, just in terms of we've got outstanding educators who are coming from industry. We've got outstanding people from the industries acting as individual mentors for the groups of students. So they've got industry mentors who have worked across the sectors that we're talking about for years and have reinvented themselves. And the university brings the quality assurance, which is backed by the gold standard quality assurance, which learners have come to expect.
Thank you. There was a question how as well. So would you like to also address that, Supriyo?
So I'll just add to what's been said. So we go to the colleges, we talk to them about this changing workplace, and there is an enormous acceptance that educators need to do something, and a lot of Indian colleges would. So what we bring to the Indian colleges is this global network, which is not easily accessible for individual colleges. So we are working with private universities. We are working with a couple of government universities as well. A lot of engineering colleges and MBA schools. So it's a mix. That 68 is a mix. And it's geographically diverse as well. So there are a lot of colleges in Maharashtra, South. Some of them are Punjab, Haryana, those kind of geographical spread. And we go and talk to them and talk to them about this changing work. And that's the conversation. We did a conference last year, which was attended by senior regulators and everybody else. I think it's a conversation in the industry, in the higher education sector, but also in the regulators, in the sense UGC, ICT, they are all talking about the same thing. So we are hoping to be part of that conversation in this country.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for asking that question.
So,
Next question.
so this way, my name is Sanjay Agarwal. My question is to Professor Bentley. when you're talking about Federation of Universities of Australia, right? So as in, we understand federation. So is it a small, those universities around, you know, is it a like total association of universities, the Federation University, or it is one single large, the umbrella means, what is it exactly? Can you elaborate?
So Federation University got its name similar to the Australian Federation of States. It brings together a number of regional campuses across Victoria, and we operate into Queensland, and we have about 50,000 hectares which we are managing as an eco-conservation area in New South Wales. So we're spread around Australia. What we do is we're a single university, but we cater, because we are spread across Australia, one of the important things about regional places is that the communities are incredibly proud of their own area, the particular needs of what they have for their community, and so we have to respond to that. And that is why we work so well with industry, because industry works across the globe into many different communities, and they have to find a university which is not coming up with something which is a one-size-fits-all, which is supposed to work across the globe. You have to be acutely aware of different cultures, different contexts, different communities. And so we've worked in many different countries across the globe, and we're acutely aware of the different cultures and within countries. And India is a great example. It's a subcontinent where you have so many wonderfully rich cultures, languages, contexts. And so industry and learners working in those different contexts need to have the cultural capability as well as the knowledge and technical skills to be able to work in whatever culture they find themselves. And so students have to learn during their study to be able to adapt to that. Otherwise, they're going to find it very hard as they enter a company which works across India or across the globe to be able to adapt to the workplace conditions where they're working in teams where members will come from such a diverse set of backgrounds, diverse languages, diverse cultures, that they have to work together to provide solutions. And so Federation University, because of its context, because of its diversity and its background, brings that expertise into this partnership.
My question is to Dr. Manish. When you're talking about the workplace readiness, as Supriyo said, so is it, do we understand that the people, like he said, we tied up with so many universities across India or different states. So are these people going to be trained here in the XPMC model? And then you're looking for sending them, they're going to get the workplace, it's in Australia or it's across the world, it's not just for India. Or are there going to be people coming to India as well?
Okay, so first of all, that's a long question, so I'll just kind of maybe cut it into a smaller pieces. First of all, the programs that we are running are, that has one of the big reasons of running that everywhere is to fix what's missing in the current education system. That is adding experience, right? All of our children go to the schools and university, and we feel that when they come out of the university, they're missing something. They're not getting that job, and then they're not doing well in that job, and so on and so on. So I think what's missing, is we all know, is the experience bit, right? I mean, we all hire people. We see that's missing. So we want to bring that experience into the qualification. So when we started doing these XPMCs, it's been written with the purpose that we need to enable the education systems across the world to be able to produce the graduates that are employable, right? So first of all, the first point is that as there was in slide, we want MBA schools, we want the IT schools, the BTech schools, and everyone to produce graduates that are quickly employable, right? They can cope up with all the pressures of the new job roles and new changing future of work. Now, saying that, the possibility for them to do these XPMCs, which are around 3 months project work, which is written by the industry. We have professional people involved with that. We have international mentors. We have a great piece of behavioral skills, technical skills, all embedded in that. And we are simulating the work experience there. So the possibility for them to do XPMCs globally. Now we are launching that here, but we have XPMCs running in Ballarat in the IBM Center. We're setting up a place in what we call it as a talent incubators. We are setting that in London, and we are having the conversations that can students go out for 3 months, 2 months, 4 months out of their degree programs and can do those programs there. Now the reason we added up the micro-credential as behind this XPMC, so the micro-credential is important in this scheme of things because we understand that all the students will be doing these XPMCs within the Indian education framework or globally, that we will be, of course, India is the first market because it's the largest market, it's close to our heart. We have worked and we have been living overseas for 25 years, but we want to come back and do things for India. So, in spite of doing that, it's going to be a big product everywhere that we're going to run it globally. Now, with XPMC, the MC part is very important because that micro-credential is where what we are looking for a strategic partnership with Federation University to begin with, and then many other universities worldwide who will give the credit based out of the study they will do. So now to answer your question, just on that, so the first thing is to make them employable, right? Whether they do XPMCs within their college or whether they do it at a London incubator, whether they do it in an Australian incubator, make them job ready. Make them, their workplace readiness score pretty high so that, they can just go in there and their profile gets very stronger to get a job. After that, if they want to study further, they get credits of what they're studying here, right? Because it's a micro-credential, the universities honor what they're studying as a project and they will welcome them to study forward. But whereas it has to be giving them a job overseas or something like that, now that is something that we are not looking in directly because the point of this entire program is to create them globally employable, to give them those skills that they can start working in the local country first at a great place, get those skills and be the global citizens, the global workforce. And that's exactly matches the India's new mission, right, which is the Prime Minister's mission, which is very clear to make India the skill capital of the world. And this is how we're going to make the skill capital of this. A lot of Indian articles now coming around the right balance between the education, the employability, and the employment. And I think once all three will be ticked off, we will see India will be completely a next level and will be a phenomenon country to live, to produce the graduates, to make the products and all of that. So we are doing our bit here with regards to employability, giving them the skills that they can go start with Indian workforce, be at the global workforce, and then just make us all very proud of having this global skilled workforce coming out of India for the world.
Thank you, Dr. Mithra.
Hi.
Before, we just have to attend to 2 more questions, and then we'll open for one-on-one interview. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Pranav from Vision Television. This question is for Manish or Supriya to answer. What are the verticals that you are trying to impart the experiential learning into? Whether it is only academic-wise or the profession-wise or craft-wise, and what about the higher education, whether it is quantum or AI? I understand you work with Intel, and what is that aspect all about?
It's a very interesting question, Supriya. Would you like to take it forward? Yep.
Okay, I'll take that. So we start with digital finance and cybersecurity. So those are, and the overarching theme for whatever we do are the new jobs, the growing jobs in the Indian IT sector and outside, in the sense user organizations as well. So that will be the first focus, digital finance, cybersecurity. We'll go into AI, product management, user experience design, digital transformation, those kind of areas afterwards. But this is a if you look at 12 months from now, we would be covering about 7 domains, and all of them are kind of, our underlying assumption is technology is changing, workforce needs to catch up. So those jobs where that intervention is most needed, those are the domains we'll focus on.
Thank you.
No, because quantum is still a very small, and quantum is small, but quantum is sort of very small segment of the job yet to impact the Indian labor market. So we would kind of look at jobs which are significant within the Indian labor market context in India. And it has to be that balance, that it is a high growth, but it has impact.
And just adding there, these are the starting point for us, the domains that we have picked up. And this is a lot coming from the expertise of our industry council that we have created. Now, these demands will change, as we have clearly seen during COVID period. There was a labor shortage, and suddenly everybody went in there. And it was not really a war of talent, but it was more like addressing the global labor shortage. But we do not want to be in that space. We want to be in the space which is providing the skills that they can be ready for the future jobs. So I think our industry council, our university partners are very active in looking at their demand going forward. So right now, starting with the digital finance, starting with cybersecurity is a starting point. Other domains that 𝗂𝗵𝗲 mentioned, we are going to launch all of that within the first year. But I think going forward, our industry councils, our global university program, university will also define this problem. So saying that whether it be quantum or whether it be other programs, they will eventually come on board as the industry will grow and will need and will realize that there is a global pool of skilled workers needed.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
We'll take the last question.
Rajesh from Delhi 99. My question to ma'am is, ma'am, Indians has become the top choices for the Indians studying abroad. Now you have launched the XPMC program today. Will it help to increase that number now, which is today the number of students studying in Australia today?
Yeah, Kathleen, would you like to take that?
Thank you for the question. As I understand, you're asking about the students that usually go overseas to study and
In Australia.
to Australia to study.
Numbers, will this XPMC program will increase this number or double this number of
It will
students in
replace.
Australia?
We see this as it's different, because I think there will always be students who want to go to Australia to study. We also know there's many students throughout the world who are not able to do that. The XPMCs is a really good way of building the employability skills of students in India. But I must say too, this is a conversation about skills needs throughout the world. We have the same conversations in Australia right now as well. And we're saying that within Australia, the universities are also not producing the students that the industry wants. So this is not a problem just here. This is a global problem. So going back to your question, we don't see it replacing, but we're seeing it as a way of us being able to work with Employability.life, being a strategic partner to help build the global skills into the future. So it is quite separate but related. And we just see this as 𝗂𝗵𝗲 was saying, is looking also at the demand in the different areas into the future. And as more conversations that we have collectively with the industry that we work with, we would also know what else we need to build into the future in terms of the XPMCs.
Thank you.
If I can add there, Caroline, I think someone who is selling Australian universities for 20 years for my colleges and everything in Australia, I see Employability.life catering to a very special group that across India for the Australian universities, attracting them for a different ways. Now, I have been a part of the Trade Commission coming from Australia for many years, who have always wished to deliver the competency-based training in India. And it's not been as successful as Australian universities would have liked to do it. and this is a problem for last 20 years. Through Employability.life, they have now the ecosystem that they can bring those competencies in these demanded areas across the country. Because I think what we will be looking in, that Australia will have substantial positioning of those universities when it comes to top university colleges that we will be offering the program in India. They will be seeing the Australian universities as a part of the solution. And of course, that will make Australian universities look very attractive as well. And I think it will also give an opportunity to Australian universities to come in and be a part of this ecosystem and deliver the programs in exponential way in the demand areas, and also the industries as well. A lot of Australian industries are willing to come and set up in India, and they're looking for properly skilled graduates. And I think this will improve that relationship between India and Australia, which is already doing so well lately, to bring the industry, to bring more universities, to experiment in those areas that are beyond the areas that we have spoken today, which for the future, it could be about the energy, it could be about the agriculture, it could be about the environment. And those are these areas that we'll be looking into the future. But at least Employability.life gives that ecosystem to these universities to build up more and more solutions for India together.
Building an ecosystem, adding experience to education. We'll take just the last question before we break for lunch.
This is Ayush Garg from 𝗙𝗲 Prime News. My question is to Dr. Manish Malhotra. Sir, how your program is different from the internships provided in the different colleges, and in the Tier 1 and Tier 2 colleges, the internship is the mandatory thing. So how this program is different from that?
See, I'll talk about it, but I think my colleague 𝗂𝗍 is best to talk about it, because we have spent hours and hours on whiteboard, when 𝗂𝗍 was trying to tell me that, how these programs, but I'll just start with that and then I'll pass it to 𝗂𝗍. We have been running internships for many years, traditionally as a part of our qualifications in Australia. And it's an obvious thing, like, whether you call it as work integrated program or whether you call it internship, they are there. I think the whole nature of internship is very different to what we want to offer in XPMC. The internship is more like a basic training or basic telling them about what we are doing. Whereas in XPMC, we have agile methodology, a different philosophy of learning, where we are giving learner the control of how do you learn and be ready for the changing workplace. Now, 𝗂𝗍, if you want to
Mr.
add
Shastri.
more into that, the difference.
Yeah, so we did spend a lot of time, and we do get asked that question quite. So if I just say fundamental difference, apart from the fact that you have to know somebody to get this internship and things like that, we have spoken to regulators, they always talk about scalability of internships and things like that. If we keep that aside, in terms of the experience, the first difference between internship and what we do in XPMC is that we measure tasks. Internship is measured by time. You will always say 3 months internship. What tasks you do doesn't matter, right? And in fact, England, we would always say that internship is making tea, right? So it's about task, it's not about time, right? So that's the first difference in XPMC. The second thing is, most work is done by teams these days. Internship is individual, right? And the fundamental thing is to understand that you have to surround yourself by multi-talented people, and you have to let them do their work. And that particular thing is missed in the way internships are done, because you go in, you are the junior person, you kind of carry out certain unimportant tasks, and you miss that team aspect of it completely. So that's the second thing, that it's teams, not individuals. And the third thing is that a person's development needs to be, we take as a student as if there is an entity called student. When we go to school, we are still the same person. We bring the whole personality to the school. So we do the whole person approach. We want the person to develop rather than just be an intern somewhere who doesn't need to be cared for. So those three, I would say, are the main differences.
Thank you so much. We break for lunch. If you have questions, you can take it always one by one.